Hello, how are you feeling?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've had some trouble moving around lately, and I've been forgetting things.
Explain specifically what's happening.
I've been feeling like I'm out of energy lately, more and more, and little things, like now that I locked the door, turned off the stove, I just can't remember.
I noticed that you've had depression for a while.
Yeah, it's something that started when I was 35 or 40 maybe. It started really weighing down on me. But, the symptoms were quite lax for a good period until about a month ago, I would say, more or less.
What about your sleeping patterns? Have you been getting enough sleep?
It just doesn't feel like exhaustion, Plus, I get 8.5 hours a night.
What about what you're eating? If you're lacking in certain nutrients, they can actually cause symptoms.
I take a multivitamin in the morning and I get a daily dose of fruits and vegetables.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a farmer.
Do you have any family members that have any kind of medical condition?
I have an uncle that has depression, and my grandfather had Parkinson's, I believe it was.
Well, it seems like we have a more serious problem. I want to conduct a neurological exam. I'm going to poke right in between your eyebrows, okay? Just be prepared. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to move your head around, and I want you to relax as much as possible, okay?
Okay.
All right, stand up for me, please, okay?
Okay.
Are you sore?
No, it's just I feel a little bit sluggish today.
Okay. Put your arms out.
Okay.
And I want you to stay as relaxed as possible. Stay as relaxed. And I'm going to just push them down. And I don't want you to resist at all. Just relax.
Okay.
Okay? Now put your arms to your sides, and I'm going to pull them out. And I want you to stay as relaxed as possible again. Now what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to push you towards me, and I want you to try to keep your balance as much as possible, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, now I'm going to go behind you, and I want you to, again, keep your balance.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now what I want you to do is to walk just in a straight line towards me. You have a disease called Parkinson's.
I don't exactly know what it is.
Parkinson's is characterized by slowness of movement, rigidity, shakiness, along with other non-movement symptoms such as depression or other thinking or behavioral deficiencies. Okay. And unfortunately, your symptoms of depression, worsening depression, and dementia imply that you're in the advanced stages of Parkinson's. Parkinson's comes about in an individual through the malfunction of the part of the brain called the basal ganglia, which helps you move.
Is there any cure? Where do I go from here?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no direct cure for Parkinson's, so you'll just have to make lifestyle changes.
What about my quality of life? If I'm feeling symptoms now, are they going to get worse?
Well, there lies treatments, and there's multiple kinds of treatments that we can give you.
Okay, like what? Is it a pill or something?
Main focus is going to be balancing your dopamine levels in order to relieve the symptoms that you're experiencing. Your main options are between medications and deep brain stimulation. As for medications, due to your advanced stages of PD, I would also like to start you on a low dose of levodopa, carbidopa, in conjunction with strong DA agonists. The reason we're using a strong agonist in conjunction with a low dose of levodopa carbidopa over a period of time, it leads to a wearing off effect.
Okay.
Lessening the effectivity of the medication. Thus, by using a DA agonist, we'll be lessening the dosage of levodopa carbidopa while still maintaining the effects, more or less, that dopamine will have on the pathophysiology system. Another treatment option is deep brain stimulation. This ultimately stimulates the basal ganglia with an electrical signal in order to increase the concentration of dopamine. Deep brain stimulation basically is our last resort. We don't want to do that to the very end.
Okay.
But what we can do now is that we can give you the DA agonist. But the DA agonist should last for 5 to 10 years. Levodopa, carbidopa would last another 5 to 10 years. So are there any more questions?
There's a lot to think about first and a
Yeah.
lot to talk about.
I can schedule an appointment with a specialist.
That would be incredible. Thank you so much.
No problem. Now we're going to start explaining the mechanism of how Parkinson's starts. So the thing to keep in mind is that the thalamus is usually inhibited, and what does this inhibition is the basal ganglia in the brain. The basal ganglia includes the striatum, the external and internal palatal segments, which is in short called the GPE and the GPI, the subthalamic nucleus, and the substantia nigra. These parts of the brain function in loops. The main loop affected by PD is the motor loop. In the motor loop, there are two pathways. The one mainly affected by Parkinson's is the indirect pathway. The indirect pathway is activated when the individual does not want to move. So the motor cortex excites the striatum. What the striatum does is that it inhibits GPE, so it cannot regulate the subthalamic nucleus.
Subthalamic nucleus gets more excited because of the inhibited function of the GPE. The subthalamic nucleus excites the GPI, which excites the regulatory function of the GPI. The thalamus is even more so regulated by the GPI than usual. So there's another part of the basal ganglia called the substantia nigra, which fine-tunes the striatum's function. The substantia nigra is excited by the striatum. Dopamine neurons within the substantia nigra excite neurons within the striatum that excite inhibitory neurons that connect to the GPE. When dopamine binds to D2 receptors, it inhibits the neurons within the striatum that connect to the inhibitory ones, which sounds a bit weird to inhibit the inhibitory. However, it stops them from sending those inhibitory signals to the GPE. Thus, the GPE's function activates more due to the lack of inhibition from the striatum. The GPE is more active, which inhibits the function of the subthalamic nucleus, and the subthalamic nucleus cannot activate the GPI. Thus, the GPI cannot regulate the thalamus. The thalamus gives more messages to the motor cortex, and the substantia nigra's job is to make sure that the striatum is not too active.
Abnormal activity in the motor loop of the basal ganglia plays a role in the development of Parkinsonism. The dopamine neurons that connect the striatum to the substantia nigra, called the nigrostriatal pathway, start to die in a person with PD. Overall degradation causes a decrease in the amount of dopamine in the system. So when these neurons die, the substantia nigra can't amplify the movement. The substantia nigra can't send messages to the striatum to loosen the GPI's grip off of the thalamus. So the thalamus can't be active. This causes the classic symptoms of Parkinson's. So how we diagnosed this patient is that we had to take a history. Since Parkinson's has a strong genetic root, we wanted to make sure that we knew something about his history. And we wanted to root out any other type of disease. We made sure that he was getting enough sleep and eating healthy.
Furthermore, to test and make sure that it was Parkinson's, we used a variety of motor tests. So one of the tests we did was tap between the eyebrows, and if the patient blinked every time, there was a strong indication that they had Parkinson's. The next thing we did is try to move the head around. If the eyes stayed straight, there was furthermore another strong indication that the patient had Parkinson's. This test is referred to as a positive doll's head reflex. So what we wanted to do next is to test the patient's resistance in his limbs. And then when we told the patient to completely relax as we pushed their arms down, we tested again to see if we felt the same resistance. Whether or not we felt the resistance in a cogwheel motion indicated whether or not the patient exhibited rigidity. Now, we wanted to test whether or not the person had a Parkinsonian gait when walking. So we had the person walk in a straight line and observe to see whether or not the arms were curled up into the body and the patient produced small steps. And one of the last tests we did was called a pull test. What we did was we had the patient stand up and we were going to push them and pull them. and if they could not keep their balance, then that was referred to as positive retropulsion, which is another cardinal sign of Parkinson's.